Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of Richmond Ballet in real time. I'm very excited today to introduce one of School of Richmond Ballet's full-time faculty members, Miss Deanna Seay. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Valerie. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for carving out a little bit of time today. We have this illustrious photo of you. Can you tell our audience a little bit about this image?
Oh, this photo was from when I was dancing at Miami City Ballet. We did the full-length Don Quixote, and I was Queen of the Dryads. And so this is from the second act of Don Quixote.
Beautiful, beautiful. Deanna, can you tell us a little bit about your introduction to ballet and the art of classical ballet and dance?
Well, I was all of about 4 years old, and I remember going to a performance and looking at those costumes and being like, oh my gosh, I want to wear those tutus. Mom, I want to go wear those tutus. Take me to ballet class so I can wear the tutus. If you ask my mom about it, she will blame it on a record called Tina the Ballerina, which was a story of the girl who was the understudy and becomes the star. And she will say that I listened to that incessantly, which I did. But I'm sure that between those two things, like that is completely why I went into ballet. And at 4 years old, I was very determined. I was like, I'm going to be a ballerina.
Good for you. That's amazing. So young. Decision done.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your first experience with Richmond Ballet?
I started dancing in Jacksonville, Florida. And after I'd been dancing for about a year or two, we moved to Richmond because my dad grew up in the area. And so we moved back to where he grew up. And we asked for recommendations. And so my teacher in Jacksonville, Marta Jackson, said, well, there's a good school there. It's School of Richmond Ballet. And my first teacher was Patricia Dodd. And it was at the time when Barbara Russell was running the school. I remember when Stoner came and started pulling everything together and just making it, pulling it to make it on track to becoming a professional company and being in that nutcracker. I remember her working, and I was at a Mother Ginger child. And my teacher, Mrs. Dodd, was in charge of creating the Mother Ginger dance. It was Stoner's vision that kind of brought the whole production together. I mean, I still have autographed programs from that ballet.
We're going to have to carve those out for the archives.
Yeah.
As you grew up, you ended up attending University of North Carolina School for the Arts for high school. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
It was great. It was a difficult decision. I think especially a difficult decision for my parents because I was so young when I decided that I needed to go. But we lived far away. We lived an hour outside of Richmond. And so I was at the point in my training where I really needed to come to ballet class more than twice a week if I was going to become a professional dancer. So we looked for schools. And once again, I think, Mrs. Dodd or somebody here recommended it as a really excellent place. It's a boarding school. You go and you get all of your training, So I went and, I had to audition, and I was accepted probably by the skin of my teeth. But, it was really unlike anything that I'd ever been to because suddenly, suddenly I was going to a school where it was everyone, you were a ballet dancer or you were a modern dancer or you're a musician or you were, you were an actor or you painted, people were so passionate and focused on their arts. And so it was really a unique feeling to just kind of fit into that slot, and feel accepted and feel at home.
That must have been magical, being totally immersed in that every day.
It was hard. I mean, there was definitely a period of transition, because I was coming from 2 classes a week, and then suddenly it was at 10 classes a week. So that was really, I think, a bit of a shock. And it was a serious program. And then you had to balance your academics and you had to have that. And then you had all of your arts classes. If you were fortunate enough to be chosen to be in a production, then you had rehearsals at night. So it was a really extremely professional environment.
First off, for any of our audiences that don't know, you then went on to dance with Miami City Ballet for 21 years. Kudos to you. That is phenomenal. Oh my goodness. Can you tell us how you ended up at Miami City? And then we don't have all day. I wish we did, but a little snippet about your 21 years.
Okay. Well, I was lucky because back then, I hate to say back then, but back then, School of the Arts was a pretty frequent stop for companies that were auditioning. And so Edward came with his ballet mistress, Elise Bourne, and they held an audition. And it was the easiest thing, you know, it was just like, you know, a bunch of us went to the audition and took the class. And, you know, I don't know if it really struck me what a big deal that was and what a turning point that would be in my life. But they came and they gave the class, and I mean, it was fun. Like my friends and I were like laughing, like, you know, we were like having a great time. It was just a fun class. And then, you know, and then afterwards, I remember Edward looked at me and he's like, "Do you ever smile?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought that I was smiling." He's like, you know, he's like, "Oh, you have a beautiful smile." But, you know, he was able to tell me, he's like, "You know, we're interested in you. We have some auditions to do, but we'll get back to you." And then a couple of weeks later, I started seeing these notices on the bulletin board, "Deanna, call Ed Villela." And so I called, and they were able to offer me a contract. And that was way back before there were apprentices and second companies and all of those things that people deal with now. I mean, and the company was only 3 years old, so it was relatively small, but it was great. And then,
well, and also that experience of starting up this personal relationship with Edward Villela. I mean, this is,
yeah, he really was a pivotal figure for me. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be on a Zoom reunion with Miami City Ballet people the other day, and he was there. And I was able to tell him, you know, how much that whole experience meant to me. I mean, I'm sure that he knows it and people tell him, but I haven't seen him since I left Miami. And so just to be able to say, you know, in the years since having retired from the company and moved on to teaching, you know, I just find that everything that he said is so ingrained into the way I teach and the way I see ballet, and the things that the way I think about ballet. It's all kind of this fabric was woven into me from him. It's really cool. So yeah, I mean, he was a pretty significant figure. He had a very distinctive approach. Like, he wanted everybody to move really big and to be on the music. Like, those were the two things that were most important. You know, he was very fond of saying, like, "We can teach you technique, but I can't teach you musicality." You know, or he can teach you how to use the music, but there's some things you have to have, and musicality was one of them. And also, he hired the nicest people. He hired the nicest people to work with, and
which is so important.
Yeah, and it made the company like a family.
Wonderful. Can you tell us, Deanna, what was your favorite? I know it's a really hard question. What was your favorite role of your whole tenure at Miami City Ballet?
I can narrow it down to a few. Although now I'm like, okay, then there's that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. I mean, I love them all, but quickly and in a nutshell. So I got to do Terpsichore and Apollo, which is just so beautiful. The Pas de Deux and Concerto Barocco, or any part in Concerto Barocco, is fabulous, but that first violin was just terrific. Waltzer and Serenade, that was just, you know, it's like you're living. The theme and variations, it's just, that music, like, and the Pas de Deux, it gives you chills, it brings you to tears, that music, and I got to do that. Emeralds from Jules, I did the second variation.
So luscious. Yeah.
And that one was something I did for a really long time. Like, I did that variation 15 years.
Wow.
And it was always the same and always different.
You know? So nice to be able to revisit something, I feel like, too, especially as you grow as an artist and you can approach it differently, and the different challenges that entails.
Yeah. Jumping Girl and Who Cares, I did that one for like 15 years also. And, you know, it was another old friend that I got to come back to. And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting so many of them. You know, I mean, we did a few classical ballets. So I got to do Giselle, which was just, you know, it's like you pour your whole heart and soul into ballet. And Allegra Briand and Diamonds. And I should probably stop.
Those are all fabulous works.
Yeah.
While you were there, I noticed doing some of my research, you got to work with the great ballerina Maria Tallchief. Can you also tell us quickly a few of your favorite moments with her?
Okay, so Maria came, we were asked to do a video for the Balanchine Foundation. And so she came to um, coach myself and actually my husband. We worked together in Allegro Brilliant in the principal roles. And oh gosh, she was great. She was so giving and so supportive. And at one moment we finished one of the entrances and we did the ballet. We coached the whole thing and then we immediately ran it again. And I think there was a day when we did it 4 times, so, I mean, you were like
Yeah.
sweat and dying and it was just so hard, but you're like, it's Maria Talchief. What else am I going to do?
Right.
But, and I'll never forget this. But we came off and she's like, oh, that was wonderful. I wish Balanchine could have seen that.
Wow.
Like, those are, it's one of those things where you're like,
Save
wow,
that
I'm gonna
forever.
put that in the vault and keep
Yes.
that forever because that was really special.
Beautiful. I love that story. Okay, well, you mentioned your husband. Tell us a little bit about how you met your husband and about your 2 fabulous boys, and do you encourage them to love the arts?
Well, Misha and I met in Miami. It's a bit of a long, stretched out story, but I'll condense it. He came, I had been in the company for 10 years, and then, he came and he took my bar spot. Having been in a company, you know how it is. You have your spot, right, and you come in one morning and you find out someone's gotten there earlier than you and they're now standing in your spot. And I'm like, well, I just stood next to him. And so we talked many years later. We were dating and then we eventually got married and now we have 2 boys. And I look at them and I swore I would never be the mom who says, oh, you should take ballet. But here I am. Yes, they are both in ballet. Do they like it? The younger one likes it. He's 4. Olin is 4. And he was very enthusiastic to go to his Invitation 1 class this year. Sonalyn likes it when he gets there. He's a little more resistant, but he does like it. Will they grow up to be dancers? Who knows? I just like that they have that discipline and
exactly all the traits that go along.
All of those things that come with it. Do I have fantasies about them being in the Nutcracker? Of course I do. Because I'm a ballet mom now.
Right.
But we'll see.
I love that. How has your transition from professional dancer, now that you've transitioned into teaching and coaching, how has that been for you?
Like in coming to Richmond, I felt more and more that I was able to find my own voice as a teacher and find those things. I mean, I don't know that I could teach everything in ballet very well. And there's certainly tons that I'm still learning. And I'm so grateful that I have people like Malcolm to watch and Judy Jacob and, these people who have like this immense knowledge and immense teaching experience that I can watch and draw from. But I think that I have found some things that I don't want to say good at, but that I'm comfortable with delivering and making sure that those are fundamentals that the students get.
One of the things I love about School of Richmond Ballet is I think it's such a cornucopia per se of teaching artists. I mean, everyone is so different and brings a different background with different experiences. And I just feel like our students at School of Richmond Ballet get such a well-rounded dance education.
I do. And, I really appreciate that. Years ago, I mean, probably 10 or 12 years and longer now, there were 2 students who came to Miami from Richmond Ballet, and they both ended up in my class that I saw like all the time. And they were so well trained. Like they really stood out because they were clean, they were mannered, they knew what to do. And it was just, and I've never forgotten them because they just had this beautiful look, refined and elegant and simple and just this really beautiful look. And then so coming back and now teaching here and looking at the students, and I'm like, I see there's this huge amount of experience, from these teachers who've been here for so long and teaching. And so they all contribute to that look, that beautiful, refined look of just an elegant ballet, student or dancer.
Right. Okay, now's my favorite time in the show when we get to loosen things up a little bit. We're going to do our Petit Allegro round. So these are some surprise questions coming your way.
Okay.
Do you like pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Oh, I like that answer. Swan Lake or Giselle? I know, it's really
Ooh.
hard.
Ooh,
But if you could only choose one.
on like
Okay, I mean the music to die for. Now you have two little boys, PJ Masks or Thomas the Tank Engine?
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, yay, Sebastian loves him too. Country living or city living? You've lived both.
City.
City living, I like it. Petit Allegro or Grand Allegro?
Grand Allegro.
I like to fly too.
Yeah.
Diamonds from Jewels or Theme and Variations? I know, these are hard.
Pick one child or the other. The Theme and Variations.
And last but not least, Southern Hospitality or Miami Nightlife?
Southern Hospitality.
Okay, all right. Deanna, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
It was great.
our audience has loved getting to know a little bit about you as a person, as a dancer, as a mother, and most importantly, as part of the fabulous faculty at School of Richmond Ballet.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. This is Valerie Tillman-Henning signing off from another episode of Richmond Ballet in real time. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Deanna Seay from our SRB faculty, be sure to check out North Carolina School of the Arts and Miami City Ballet. Stay home, stay positive, stay safe, and above all else, dance like no one's watching.